Should Manchester United switch formation to a back three? So you see, some of the most exciting teams in Europe right now are using this formation. Xabi Alonso with Bayer Leverkusen or Ruben Amorim with Sporting Lisbon. They play back three formations and play some of the most exciting football in Europe. We also saw United in a back three in extra time against Liverpool, and I think we would all agree it certainly worked in that game. So the question is, could Manchester United use that shape on a full-time basis, and do they have the personnel to do so? Before we figure out whether or not United have the personnel, we need to take a look at the advantages of the shape. What is the benefit of playing with a back three? First of all, it gives you a lot of players in the build-up phase, particularly if you move your middle centre-back into midfield and drop the two wider centre-backs like this. It gives you a diamond play out from the back. And of course, your wing-backs can also drop deeper to provide extra numbers, allowing you to move the ball forward and build up the possession through the first phase. What you also get when you play a back three is naturally you are given the shape which is really the meta in football, if you like. This 3-2 shape. Arsenal use this, Manchester City use this, Liverpool use it at times, United have used it. The back three with two central midfielders, in a back three formation, you are naturally given that. You don't need to invert a fullback from a position they're not used to, a fullback into midfield or a fullback into the back three. You don't have to do that in this formation. You kind of naturally have it. You can also create the box midfield shape as well. If your two inside forwards come a little bit deeper, you do get this box shape. And then of course you also get the fact that you can overload the last line with a front five. I also think the back three has massive benefits out of possession as well. Now you might view the back three or the back five formation as quite a defensive, pragmatic approach. But used in the right way, I actually think it's the complete opposite. And it's almost one of the best formations to use in terms of high pressing. So why is that? Well, because you can connect your fullbacks. Because you don't have fullbacks, you have wingbacks. And naturally they play higher. So for example, you can play your back three like this. And they're all going to be in positions that they are comfortable in. You can go man to man with the opposition's front three. You're then going to have two midfielders who are going to be comfortable going man to man. You've got your wing-backs pushed high all the way onto the opposition full-backs, or they can sit just a couple of yards off, and then between your front line you can find a way of going man-to-man. So I also think the back three has a lot of advantages in this way as well. The question is, if we were to look at the Manchester United side, can they line up in this formation?
So before we continue into the video, a quick shout out to today's video sponsor, JerseyFIFA.com, the home of all of the greatest football kits. Whether that be the new latest releases or the old classic ones like this, Jersey FIFA has something for everyone, and now you can check it out yourself using the link in the description down below. And also make sure to use code JerseyFIFA for 10% off when you order.
Now if we start from the back and move our way forward, I actually kind of think the answer is yes. Starting off in goal, obviously Onana would be comfortable in a back three. It might actually suit him as well. Having three defenders who are going to squeeze higher, play a higher line, it gives him more room to sweep up and things like that, so I think it could suit him. In terms of the three defenders in front of him, I think you have a few choices. This middle centre-back could be Lisandro Martinez, Harry Maguire or Rafael Varane. The left-sided player could be Luke Shaw or Harry Maguire. And then on the right-hand side, you could have Varane, Lindelof, Kambuala. You've got a few different options. This, in my opinion, would be the strongest back three which Manchester United could field. Now, of course, this is dependent on who is actually fit at the time. But if you are building an ideal team, this definitely works. And in terms of how that would work on the pitch, I actually think it's really nice. If we are talking about that first phase play, this middle centre-back moving into midfield to play out from the back, as the other two split a little bit wider, this is almost perfect. Almost perfect for what Manchester United currently have, but also in terms of pressing higher up the pitch, particularly if you were to sign a new right centre-back who's more athletic. Again, this actually suits us pretty well. Lisandro Martinez's height might be a bit of a problem, but if you were to recruit a big midfielder in front of him, it could work. I also think it could work in the midfield as well. We already know that Kobbie Mainoo is accustomed to playing this sort of role, then it's just about finding the right partner. At the moment, the best fit would probably be Casemiro, although again, potentially you could dip into the transfer market to try and find a better option. But again, this dynamic makes sense, because it gives Kobbie Mainoo the licence to drop deep, get on the ball and dictate the play, but also the licence, at times, to push further forward. The other midfielder moves into a solo pivot role, and it gives Kobbie Mainoo this freedom to move forward and dribble and progress the ball and carry it into the final third, which of course he done so well against Liverpool. That sort of side of his game would really be captured in this formation, in my opinion. Playing in a double pivot alongside a player who is happy to do something similar. Sometimes drop deep, sometimes move forward. That could be a really nice balance. The next question comes into these two wing back roles. And this is perhaps where the biggest questions lie with this Manchester United squad. Do United have the right players for this sort of system? On the right hand side, I think Dalot makes sense. Dalot is a right back who can play out wide. I do prefer him centrally, but I think he could play this role, overlapping down the right hand side, still having rotations with those players around him, but I think he would be suited to this. He would probably just need to work on his final third delivery a bit. The bigger question perhaps is, who do you play at left wing back, particularly because we've got Shaw deeper. What if I was to say to you guys, Alejandro Garnacho? Now, that might be a bit of a rogue shout, but if we take these two guys out here, and we bring Dalot in on this side and Garnacho on this side, Garnacho could do a job here. Now, of course, what we saw against Liverpool is his engine, his ability to work incredibly hard, push forward, track back, and he actually tracks back to the extent at the moment where he often ends up in the back five. He will help Dalot all the way in these defensive positions, so he is used to doing that sort of defensive work, that side of the game. But what I really like about Garnacho potentially at wing back is his threat going the other way, and it's really glimpses of what we've seen in recent games which has made me think this and even consider the back three in the first place, because it's the ability to get Garnacho and Marcus Rashford on the same side of the pitch, because this has happened a few times recently and it's been very, very successful. So here we've got against Everton, Marcus Rashford has got the ball wide and Garnacho is underlapping into the final third of the pitch, and what this does is it turns a 1 versus 1 situation like this into a 2 versus 1 situation because of the selfless running of Garnacho, and it allows him to get into the final third. On this occasion he wins a penalty. But can you imagine if you were the right back for the opposition and you're trying to deal with Garnacho and Marcus Rashford down the same side of the pitch? Do you understand how difficult that would be? It would be an absolute nightmare for defenders. Liverpool had a similar problem against us as well. We can see Marcus Rashford, as he receives the ball, is 1 versus 2. This is not an ideal situation for him. However, again, because of the selfless running of Garnacho, his ability to get forward, Rashford is able to find him, get into the final third, and again, it eventually leads to a goal. So if Manchester United were to do this, with Alejandro Garnacho kind of as the left-sided player, kind of a wing-back, but he's higher than that, and then Marcus Rashford ahead of him as the inside forward, the dynamic could be really, really impressive, because we know that both of these players like to vary their role. So at times, like we saw in those clips, Rashford likes to move wide, and then Garnacho underlapping is truthfully a dream, because these two are a massive threat. We saw it in those clips there. But there would also be situations where Garnacho wants to go out wide. You know, naturally he is a left winger. It allows Rashford to come into these areas. It could be a really nice dynamic. I'm not saying it's literally perfect, but if we are in a world where we are trying to experiment with different roles, try and get more out of the current United side, moving to a back three could kind of suit these players. And then for those last two positions, you just bring Bruno Fernandes and Rasmus Højlund into the side, and you have yourself a really nice starting 11, in my opinion. What I also like, though, about this system is it does give us a little bit of depth, because you've got, like I've said, Maguire could come in at left centre-back. He could also come in as the central centre-back. Lindelof could do the same. Varane could play as the middle centre-back, at which point Lindelof could play on the right, or Kambuala, maybe Wan-Bissaka. Let me know what you think in the comments. Then in midfield, we've got plenty of options because we've only got two midfielders. So Eriksen, Scott McTominay, Amrabat, and then of course Kobbie Mainoo and Casemiro. That could work. There's a lot of depth there. The right-hand side is perhaps where we lack a little bit of depth in terms of the right wing-back position and up front. In terms of the rest of the options though, Garnacho or Antony could be your left wing-back, as we discussed the other day. You've got Marcus Rashford or Garnacho can play this role here, or even someone like Amad Diallo, for example, in a half space. On the other side, you've got Bruno Fernandes, who can play here, or Mason Mount. He's played there a lot in his career. I think you find yourself with a slightly stronger squad if you were to move to this formation. Particularly if you were then to supplement it with a few signings in the summer. You would be looking at a more athletic right centre-back. You would be looking at a more athletic midfielder, a backup striker, maybe a backup right-back to Diogo Dalot. And again, Dalot is maybe my question mark in this team. I'm interested to know what you think, because I do prefer him inside. But in terms of, again, if we are trying to experiment with the side a little bit, try and cook up something a little bit different, I do wonder if the back three might be the way forward for Manchester United. Again, it worked really well against Liverpool because it allowed us to go man-to-man. The Liverpool game, of course, was also an anomaly. It was not a normal game of football by any means, particularly in extra time. But I do think we saw things, we saw glimpses, which could work for Manchester United. So now I'm interested to hear your thoughts. Get in the comments down below. Do you think the back three works? Do you think these personnel work? Or would you kind of change it a little bit? Would you move people into different positions? And who would you look to sign for this formation in the summer? All of that. Get in the comments down below and let me know what you think. I like the idea. It would be interesting to see if we could experiment with it, although I'm not sure it will happen. Let me know though what you think in the comments down below, but apart from that, we are finished for today. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you have enjoyed it, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.